I was born on April 27, 1822, in Point Pleasant, Ohio. As a child, I had a lot of siblings. I was the oldest of 6. Like most kids, I did chores, fished for food, and rode horses. My father sent me to the U.S. Military Academy when I was 17 years old. I graduated as a brevet in the 4th Infantry. In 1848, I won the Civil War and became famous for my leadership. When I was 46 years old, I became the President of the United States, as well as the youngest president in U.S. history. I married a woman named Julia, and we have 4 kids together. I died at 63 years old from throat cancer. I hope you enjoyed learning about my life. I'm Paul Revere. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, January 1st, 1735. My mom and dad were named Apollos Revere and Deborah Hitchcock. I was the 3rd born of 9 children. I was the oldest surviving son. As a young adult, I became a silversmith. My first wife, Sarah Orne, had 8 children and died soon after the 8th child. I then married Rachel Walker, and we had 8 more children. The Tea Act made me and others mad. I decided to join the Sons of Liberty December 16, 1773. The Sons of Liberty and I disguised as Indians and dumped the tea into the Boston Harbor. The colonists and I knew that the Redcoats are coming, and the Sons of Liberty told me to warn Lexington. I was on my horse at night warning the colonists in Lexington. I was going to Lexington to Concord, but I got caught at Concord, but I was freed. I am remembered as a fast horseman for my midnight ride to Lexington.
Hi, I'm Andrea Jackson. I was born on March 15th, 1767, between North and South Carolina. My early life was very hard. My dad died before I was born, and my mom and brothers died during the Revolutionary War. In 1784, I studied hard to become a lawyer. I became a successful lawyer. While I was in Tennessee, I met a woman named Rachel. We got married in 1791. Then in 1796, I began my political career. I helped write the Tennessee State Constitution. Then I was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. I left Congress on March 4th, 1797. Later, I became Tennessee Supreme Court judge for 6 years. Then I went back to work on my plantation. I joined the War of 1812 and became a general in 1814. During the War of New Orleans, we won with only 6 losses, and I became a war hero. In 1829, I was elected 7th President of the U.S. In 1830, I signed the Indian Removal Act. The Indian Removal Act was when thousands of Indians were forced off their land. I was re-elected in 1832. In 1837, I retired. I had no children but adopted one named Andrew Jackson Jr. I had a nickname of Old Hickory. I'm on the $20 bill, and I died on June 8, 1845, near Nashville, Tennessee, at age 78.
Hello, I am Deborah Sampson. I was born on December 17th, 1760 in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and died on April 29th, 1827 in Sharon, Massachusetts. At the age of 8, my father abandoned the family. When I was 10, I was a servant until I was 18. When I was 21, I joined the army during the Revolutionary War. I disguised myself as a man. They called me Bobby. It was illegal to be a woman in the army. Later on in life, I taught at a Middleborough public school. Sadly, when I was 66, I died from yellow fever.
I'm Abraham Lincoln, but some people call me Honest Abe. I was born on February 12, 1809 in Kentucky. My mother sadly died when I was just 9 years old. After she died, I started to read books. My dad would get mad at me for reading so much. I became a soldier in 1832 and quit 30 days later. Then I became an Illinois legislative representative in 1834. Then I wanted to become a lawyer in 1836 and married Mary Todd Lincoln in 1842. I hated slavery, so I ran for president, and in 1860 I was elected. 1 year later, the Civil War started, and I hated it. I did not like all the people dying. I ended slavery in 1863, and the war ended on April 9, 1865. Then, sadly, I was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth in 1865. People remember me today for my leadership, my kindness, and my big hat.
Hello everyone, I'm Phyllis Wheatley. I was born May 8th in about 1773 in West Africa. As a kid, I was stolen from my home. Because I spoke Arabic, no one knows my real name. So I was renamed by my slave owners, Phyllis Wheatley. I learned to read and write when I was 9 years old. During my teen years, I made lots of poems, but when I was 18 years old, I got released because my slave owners saw my talent. Eventually, I got married to John Peters when I was about 25 years old. Then I became Phyllis Wheatley Peters. I published my first book when I was 20 years old. During my life, I met some important people, such as George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. But I was unlike my Thomas Jefferson because he did not like my poems and thought they were mindless. When I was 31 years old, I had about 3 children. 2 of them died at birth, and shortly after, I got pneumonia, and my 3rd daughter died with me that day. Sadly, my husband left me to die on my deathbed on December 5th, 1784, and I was known for one of the first African-American women to write a book.
Hello, I'm Harriet Tubman. I was born March 1820. Here are some facts about me. First of all, my birth name isn't Harriet Tubman. It's actually Arminta Ross, but you can call me Minty or Moses. Secondly, I was sadly born into slavery. Thirdly, when I was 12 or 13, there was a runaway slave and an overseer meant to throw a heavy piece of metal at the runaway, but instead it hit me in the head. This resulted in me having seizures, hallucinations, and me sleepwalking. Fourthly, I saved a lot of people from slavery during my 13 missions on the Underground Railroad as a conductor. My first mission was saving my niece and 2 kids that were going to be sold in the auction in 1850. During all 13 missions, I traveled during either cold nights or just normal nights. This is because almost nobody was outside during those times. Sadly, after my 13 missions, I suffered financial hardships and fraud. Now let's stop talking about tragic moments. My favorite color is orange because it gives me strength, and my favorite foods are salt pork and cornbread. But I also enjoy chicken, biscuits, and pie. One unfortunate day, I died to pneumonia. I lived to be 91 years old, and my last words were, I go away to prepare a place for you, that where I may be, you may also be. Anyways, I'm Harriet Tubman. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm James Olmsted. I was born into slavery in 1748 in Virginia. I and get the best education, but I learned to read anyway. My mother died when I was 12. I got married when I was 16. I was still a slave when the Revolutionary War started. I joined the British Army. While I was in the British Army, I was fighting for Lafayette. We won the final battle. The British were confused and lost the war. Lafayette wrote a letter. Lafayette wrote it in fancy cursive. The letter is for the colonists to know I was a hero. I had a good life until I died. I died on my farm. Thank you for listening.
I'm Dolly Madison. I was born in North Carolina in 1768. Then later with my mom and dad, I moved to Virginia, then to Philadelphia. My young adult life is not much. First, I got married to John Todd. Then 1 month later, he died. Then 1 year later, I got married to James Madison, 4th President of the United States. I was known for 2 things. One is I was the very First Lady. Then during the war in 1812, I saved the portrait of George Washington, but nothing else because the White House was on fire. Sadly, I died on July 12, 1849, at the age of 81.
Hello, my name is Anne Hutchinson. I was born July 20th, 1591. My father was a Puritan minister, so I got more education in those schools. I am a fiercely independent and brilliant woman. In 1634, I got my husband to move from England to Boston. I followed my pastor. His last name is Cotton. Cotton preached that good behavior will save you, not your fate. I held meetings, and back in my day, women were supposed to do what men said and not talk back. So when I accused the ministers of lying, the ministers became alarmed. I defended my actions well, but they scolded me. I got angry with the ministers. I said there would be a curse. I got banished from Massachusetts. I went to Roger Williams for help. He got homes for me and 80 of my followers. It was in Rhode Island. I had 15 children, and all but one of my kids were killed by the Shoshone tribe by getting axed to death.
I am Alexander Hamilton. I was born in Charlestown, St. Kitts and Nevis, January 11th, 1755. I arrived in the American colonies in 1772 at the age of 15. I was an officer in the Revolutionary War in 1776. I also served as George Washington's closest aide a year later. I got married to Elizabeth Schuyler Hamilton in 1780, December 14. I was married to her for 24 years. I was known for starting the financial district, being a founding father, and I established the Coast Guard. I died July 12, 1804, at the age of 47. I died from a duel with Aaron Burr. My duel with Aaron Burr was because of the political rivalry. Thank you.
I'm Anastasia Whitman. I was born on March 14, 1808 in Hattiesburg, New York. I'm the third of 9 kids. I had 4 brothers and 4 sisters. I grew up near Marcus. Marcus is my husband. I am 6 years younger than Marcus. I was the first woman to cross the North American continent. My hair was accidentally dyed green during a dye-making experiment. Before my hair was dyed, it was a gold color and it was curly. In 1836, Marcus and I left New York for Oregon country. On September, a hard-professional journey came to an end. Marcus and I arrived at Fort Walla Walla on President's Day. I had one daughter named Alice. I died November 29, 1847, of Walla Walla, Washington. I sadly died at the age of 39. I died of being killed on a mission.
Hello, I'm Mary Ledley Case. Have you ever heard of Molly Pitcher? Well, scientists believe that was just a nickname for me. Anyways, I was born October 13, 1754 in Trenton, New Jersey. My husband was William Hayes. My parents did not have the last name Hayes. I inherited that last name from my husband. I was against slavery. In 1783, I had a baby boy named John L. Hayes. Sadly, in 1786, when John was only 5, his father, William Hayes, passed away after he was wounded very badly in war. I took his place in the Revolutionary War of Monmouth as a cannon shooter. My famous quote was, "I shall take his place and fire round after round after Britain." On June 28, 1778, my skirt was ripped by a cannonball. As you can see, but causing no injury. After that traumatic event, I said, well, that could have been worse. In 1793, I got remarried to John Macaulay. Sadly, on January 22nd, 1832, I died of skin cancer at 77 and was buried at the Carlisle Old Cemetery in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.
Hi, my name is Sojourner Truth, but my birth name is Isabella. I was born into slavery in New York, so my birthday is unknown, but it was around 1797. My first language was Dutch. When I was 9, I was sold to a slave owner, and 2 other times when I was older. When I was younger, I had to pick cotton and spin wool. I grew up tall and strong and married a man named Thomas. I had 5 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. One of them died young. Their names were Diana, Peter, Elizabeth, and Sophia. Many people, including me, believed that slavery was wrong. In 1817, New York passed a law to free some slaves. In 1827, I became free. When my son Peter was 5, he was sold even though it was illegal. I went to court to win him back. I won Peter back. I was the first African American woman to win a court case against a white man. I died on November 26, 1883 of old age.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Harlow Barton. I was born December 25th, 1821, and died April 12th, 1912. I lived till I was 91 years old. I died because of pneumonia. I was born in North Oxford, Massachusetts. I was an American hospital nurse during the Civil War, a teacher, and a patent clerk. I was the founder of the Red Cross and the first president of the Red Cross. I was included in the Women's Hall of Fame in 1973.
When I was 10, I pretended to nurse my brother when he fell off the barn roof and suffered a severe head injury. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Abigail Smith Adams. Some people call me Nabby. I was born in Weymouth, Massachusetts on November 11, 1744. I am the second oldest of 3 siblings. I was born into a wealthy family. My husband was John Adams. I got married on October 25th, 1764 at the age of 19 years old. I had 6 children, 3 girls and 3 boys. Sadly, 2 of my daughters, Susanna and Elizabeth, died very young. Elizabeth died from stillborn birth, and Susanna died from an unknown disease. My husband was a founding father. I became famous because I told the founding father at that time to let women claim their share of liberty. I wrote 419 letters to my husband because of his job as a president in 1797 to 1801. Sadly, shortly after, I died on October 28, 1818, at the age of 73 years old, because of typhoid fever. My last words were, "Do not grieve, my friend, my dearest friend. I'm ready to go, and John, it will not be long." On July 4th, 1826, John died from heart failure at the age of 90.
Hi, I'm Lucretia Moss. I was born on Nantucket Island in 1793, January 3rd. I did not have any siblings, but my mom and dad were the best. I violated slavery. I married my awesome husband, James Moore. Don't tell him I said that. We both were abolitionists. I became a minister in 1821 at age 28. I also formed a women's convention in Seneca Falls, New York, with Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I worked for rights for women. I have a famous quote which says, "Liberty is no less a blessing because oppression has so long darkened the mind that it cannot appreciate it." Sadly, I caught pneumonia and died at 87. I was an important woman. I hope you enjoyed learning about me.
Hi, I'm George Washington. I was born on February 22, 1732, and I was born on Westmoreland, country of Virginia. I spent my childhood on a farm. I have 9 siblings. I learned how to spade land. I love to work. My brother Lawrence died in Lexington. It's called Mount Vernon. I served in the French and Indian War, and after, I married Martha Custis. Great Britain ruled America at the time. Americans wanted freedom. I was famous for leading the Continental Army to victory, and I served as first president of the United States of America. I passed away by a throat infection at 1665 at age 67.
Hi, I am Pocahontas. I was born in America during 1595. I was named Montague, which means flower between 2 streams. Then I got the nickname Pocahontas, which means playful one. I am important because my father, the chief of our tribe, sent someone to get John Smith. He was going to kill John, but I saved him by telling Chief to spare him and put myself in front of John Smith. I also was the first Native American Christian. I got kidnapped by the English and taken to England at the age of 15. I met John Rolfe and married him at the age of 18. I had one beloved son. His name was Thomas Rolfe. I died at the age of 22 during 1617 from an illness. These are some important events of my life.
Buna or hello. I am Sacagawea. I will be talking about my life today from a little girl to the grave.
was born in 1789 or 1790. My father was the chief of the Shoshone tribe. I had 2 brothers and a sister. One day I got kidnapped during a buffalo hunt without my family. That's where my journey began, when the Hidatsa tribe kidnapped me. I married Toussaint Charbonneau because I was forced to. I had 2 children. Their names were Jean and Lizette. I was 13 when I got married and Toussaint was 37. I joined the Lewis and Clark expedition because I was trained as a translator, food gatherer, and my knowledge of the region. I traveled 16 months across the American Northwest. I also saved materials in the Great Trent disaster. I was 16 when I had Jean during the trip. At the end of the trip I had helped the most. It was time for payments. All the men got their money while I was waiting. Then I got nothing. I got nothing because I was a woman. Later in the year 1812, I died at 25 or 26 years old in December due to typhus. I said that everything I do is for my people. And now that I'm gone, I am still remembered. You can find me on the $1 coin today.
Hi, I am Mercy Otis Warren. I was born in Barnstable, Massachusetts in 1728. My father James influenced me and told me to follow my dreams. I got tutored at home, but not many women received any education at all. Then I married James Warren. He was a lawyer and a revolutionary activist, but I, Mercy Otis Warren, have my own rights. I became a leading voice in my own rights. Then the play I wrote, The Apple, made a public sensation. It talked about American freedom and how people should have their own rights. I died on October 19th at the age of 86 in my home. I hope you enjoyed my presentation on Mercy Otis Warren.
My name is David Crockett. I was born on August 17, 1786 in a log cabin near Limestone, Tennessee. When I was 27 years old, I served for 3 years in the War of 1812, alongside with Andrew Jackson. Then I was a politician, then later became a U.S. congressman in 1827 to 1831. I wrote a book about myself in 1834. Then on February 22nd, 1836, all around the Alamo, 3,000 Mexican soldiers attacked. We fought back for 12 days in the Alamo. We fought for the Texas Revolution to be free from Mexico. Then finally on March 6, 1836, the other Texas soldiers died. But at the end, we killed 600 to 1,600 Mexican soldiers. People still remember me as being brave and never giving up. People also say, remember the Alamo.
Hi, I am Benjamin Franklin. I was born January 17, 1706, in Massachusetts. I had 16 brothers and sisters. I started school when I was 8. When I was 10, I left school to work in my father's shop. Then I worked for my brother James. James had a printing press. Sometimes I complained about Burton in some of my articles. I moved to Philadelphia when I was 17. There I made friends with an Englishman in charge of Pennsylvania. His name was Sir William Keth. He thought I could learn more about Princeton, England, so I moved to London. At age 18, I worked hard at the printing press, and people started to really like me. I returned to Philadelphia. 2 years later, I returned to Philadelphia. 1730, I got married. My wife's name was Deborah Reed. Throughout my life, I was interested in science. One thing I did is I used a kite to fly a metal key into the air. That's when I found electricity. When I was 42, I sold my printing press.
Now I was elected to the Pennsylvania General Assembly. In 1785, I helped write the Constitution. On April 17, 1790, I died at 84 years old. People remember me for my ability to invent and my curious mind. Some fun facts about me is that I was one of the founding fathers of the United States, and I was on the $100 bill. There's my Rijksmuseum presentation on Benjamin Franklin.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Katie Stanton. I was born on November 12, 1815 in Johnstown, New York. My mom and dad work hard, so I attended Johnstown, New York Academy and learned Greek, Latin, mathematics, religion, science, and French. I got married to Henry Brewster Stanton. I had 1 girl and 5 boys. I became a lawyer and I let the people know I was against slavery and women should have the right to vote. I died on October 26, 1902 of heart failure.
Hello, my name is Thomas Jefferson. I was born in Shadwell, Virginia on April 13, 1743, and died on July 4th. My parents' names are Peter Jefferson and Jane Jefferson. I learned to read at the age of 5. Also, I studied 15 hours a day. My nickname was Father of the Declaration of Independence, but there were 7 other ones, but this is the most famous one. I served as the 3rd President of the United States of America. Also, I wrote the Constitution. I got married to Martha Jefferson, and we had 5 daughters and 1 son, but sadly 2 died when they were an infant. They were very wealthy like I was growing up. I invented several things. First, a reclining chair with a writing on and a leg rest. One of my famous quotes is, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equally."
Hello, I'm Martha Washington. I was born on June 2nd in 1731, Chestnut Grove, Virginia. In my early life, I married Daniel Parke Custis and had 4 children. Sadly, 2 died in infancy. After my husband died, I became very wealthy because I managed the Custis estate. Then, in 1759, I married George Washington. The marriage brought several benefits such as union, wealth, and a distinguished military leader. And then later in my life, I participated in the Revolutionary War, spending cold months in the Army providing support and encouragement. I spent more than half the war at the front and also raised money and supplies. After George Washington's presidency, I also became the First Lady of America, known for my hospitality. And when George Washington retired to Mount Vernon, I managed the estate and welcomed guests. I was remembered for my strength, resilience, and contribution to the nation's history. And sadly, I died on May 22nd, 1802, at 70 years of age. I am Martha Washington, and a famous quote I said was, "I am still determined to be cheerful and happy whatever situation I may find myself."
Hello, my name is Julia O.D. Hopkins. I was born 1818 on May 7th in Jefferson County, Virginia. I had no siblings, but when I got to the right age, my family enrolled me at Miss Ritchie's private school in Richmond, Virginia. But when I was 16, my mother died, and I was sent to manage woodburning for my family's business. That same year, in 1837, I married Alexander George Gordon. Sadly, my family made me watch the slaves my father worked. But in 1847, my husband died. I quit my job for my father and married Arthur Francis Hopkins. On November 4th, 1854, my husband Arthur I married Arthur Francis Hopkins on November 4th, 1854. My husband Arthur was 23 years older than me. I was 36 and he was 69. Then I adopted my niece and named her after me. I would always donate to hospitals and charities, and in 1861 I got my own hospital. But the government put my husband in charge of it. But my husband gave me control of the hospital.
Then I started to help more and more soldiers. One day, on the battlefield, I walked in to save hurt soldiers and hurt my leg with a permanent limp. That never stopped me, and I donated every penny I had to help others. Sadly, on March 9, 1890, at age 71 and a half, I died at 40